So you think it's logically invalid for
A
me?
equal A equals B and B equals A.
You're saying it's logically invalid for me to assume I'm thinking that I exist?
I'm saying your worldview cannot account for anything.
All right. How does your
Your
worldview
world,
account for anything?
your worldview cannot, like, my worldview accounts because I'm made in the image of God.
But you don't know God
God
exists.
is God is rational, so therefore we're rational beings.
So your world.
God is morality, so therefore we're moral beings. We
So
know
your God
right
would
and
make.
wrong.
So your worldview would make sense if God existed.
The only we're saying God exists because of the impossibility of the contrary. If God didn't exist,
Uh,
then like we wouldn't exist.
you don't know that.
Yeah, I do.
You don't even know what God is. Have you seen God?
And actually, technically, if you really want to get technical, God doesn't exist because God is outside
All right.
time.
Well, thanks for your time.
God stands outside of time.
Wait, you just said
No,
God
like,
doesn't exist. I'm good with that.
yeah,
All
listen
right.
to me. I said
God
God
doesn't
doesn't exist. God
Right? I
just
heard you.
is.
Yeah, he doesn't exist. I got you.
God, yeah. Don't take me out of context. I
All
said
right.
God just
You
is.
said God doesn't exist.
Yeah, God just is.
Yeah, so is
God
something
just
that
is.
doesn't. God just is something that does not exist. You're right.
No, God
He
just
doesn't
is.
exist the
Now
way
you're
we-
taking me out of
It
context.
doesn't exist the way we would define existence
Yeah.
here.
All
Thank
right.
you
How
for
would you
showing
define existence?
We went over this before.
Something that stands in time.
Oh, so it has to be in time to exist.
Yes.
God is timeless. God is
Hmm.
eternal. God stands out of time. So God just is. Now we're getting into ontology, into being.
So you're saying things can exist outside of time.
We're saying God exists outside of time.
Well,
So God just is.
Is God something? Or nothing?
He's got something.
God
Or
is.
nothing.
God is.
Something.
God is. God is.
All right. Does he exist?
Period.
But he does exist. He's outside of time.
God is. Period.
All right. How would I distinguish a God?
You know,
How would I distinguish a? I'm not even gonna say God. How can I prove something does not exist if it is outside of time?
And proving the exact opposite.
Explain
how would
that.
you prove something does not exist
If it's outside of time.
if it's outside of time?
Right.
The only thing that's God's outside of time. There's nothing else. There's nothing else outside
I'm not
of
talking
time.
about God. I want you to explain how this is cogent. How can I prove something did not exist if it was outside of time?
There's nothing outside of time.
All right, God doesn't exist yet again. Wow, I'm getting
No,
really
we're
good
not
at this.
talking. No, I said only God is outside of time.
You said nothing is outside of time.
Yeah, because you're not talking about God. We're not talking about God. We're talking about things.
So God isn't something. It's nothing.
God just is.
Is what?
He just is.
What?
He just is.
That doesn't make sense, David. Explain what he is.
Have you studied ontology?
I'm not going to change the subject. What is God?
Hold on. Do you know? I'm not changing the subject. Have you studied ontology?
Yes, I just want you to tell me what God is.
And have you studied ontology? Do you know what ontology is?
Go ahead, tell me.
Do you know? No, I'm asking you. Do you know?
No, I don't. Go ahead, tell me.
The study of being.
Okay.
So that's
Get
when
to your
I
point.
say if you understand ontology, then you would understand when I say God just is. That actually
What?
that's an irrelevant. God just is.
All right, so you're telling me God exists somewhere that is out of time.
No, I'm not saying God exists. I'm saying God just is.
So you're not saying God exists.
I'm saying God is.
Is what?
He just is, dude. It's just,
I think you need to study ontology.
I'm telling you, how could how could I disprove your God to you?
You need to study ontology, and then you'll understand what I'm saying.
How could I distinguish God from something that does not exist?
God just is.
But how could I distinguish God from something that doesn't exist, something that is not real? Is something that is not real, does it exist in time?
Something that's not real.
Yes.
No, I'm not. I don't think I'm understanding your question.
If something doesn't exist, it's not real, does it exist in time?
If it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist.
In time, so it doesn't exist in time.
I'm saying if it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist.
Right, and it wouldn't exist in time either, would it?
I'm saying if something
You
does
don't want
not,
to say the words, do you?
I'm saying if something does not exist, it does not exist.
All right, would that include existence in time?
Existence in time?
Yes,
I
if
don't
something
know.
didn't exist, does that not existence include?
It depends on what we're talking about.
Oh, so there are some things that don't exist that could exist in time?
God is outside of time. God's
I'm
beyond
talking
time.
about something that doesn't exist.
Like what?
Something that does not exist.
Like what?
A leprechaun.
I can't think of something that I can't.
A
I
leprechaun.
can't. You're positing a hypothetical situation now, which
Alright,
is something that you can't do.
An invisible pink unicorn that does not exist, would that exist in time?
Again, you're positing a hypothetical, which you said we can't do.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you said in the beginning of the debate we can, not to posit hypotheticals.
No, I didn't. I said instead you weren't answering my questions. You're answering with hypotheticals. I'm giving you direct questions and you're not answering them. So I'm trying to give you a hypothetical. Perhaps you could answer. Now, if you want, I can restate the direct question and then you won't answer it again.
Restate the question.
All right. Could something that does not exist, would it be in time?
Something that does not exist, would it be in time?
Would it exist in
I
time?
don't know.
You don't
again,
know. It
depends
doesn't
on
exist.
It depends on what we're talking about.
Something that does not exist.
Okay, and what's your definition of existence?
That which is.
That which is?
That is real.
Okay, God is.
I'm not talking about God. I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about something that doesn't exist. Would it be in time?
So something that is not. So something that is not.
Right. If something didn't exist, would it be in time?
I don't know, because I can.
How can it be a time if it doesn't exist? It's not real.
You're asking me to talk about something like a hypothetical that I can't imagine.
I'm saying if something is not real, does it exist anywhere? If it's not actually there, if it's just made up, does it exist in time?
Okay, maybe not.
Maybe or no. If you just make up something, if I make up a pink unicorn, it doesn't exist. Will I go find one?
All right. So what's your point?
Yes or no?
I just said no.
All
so
right.
What's your point?
All right. How can I distinguish your God from that pink unicorn that doesn't exist?
Because God revealed Himself.
No. How can I distinguish it by definition?
I just told you because God revealed Himself.
But what is God? You have defined a God in a way that is identical to this pink unicorn.
God
exists outside of time.
God just is. God is.
Is what?
Like that pink unicorn did not reveal itself. God did reveal Himself.
If I read,
that's how you could tell the difference between God and what does not exist.
If God never revealed Himself, would He still exist?
If I read, just how much longer do we have before this cuts us off? That way we
probably like 10 minutes, 8 minutes.
All right.
Like I said, God like you asked, your question was, how can I distinguish between God and something that does not exist?
Correct.
Something that God revealed Himself. That's how.
So
we're made in the image of God.
So God reacts with the natural world. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, essentially.
So God exists in the natural world.
I'm saying that God can affect the natural world.
How?
Because God created the natural world.
But how can He affect it?
Well, I mean, He did it back then. He did it with miracles.
How?
To confirm.
What is a miracle to you?
Well, raising someone from the dead is a miracle.
And we know this happened, right?
Yeah, we do.
How do we know that?
500 witnesses.
Yeah, 500 witnesses.